Thank you. Good morning, MozCon. My fourth time up here. It's great to be back. Thank you for having me back. I love you guys, and I could be all mushy for 5 minutes, but it's going to move fast today, and so I need to get started, so buckle in. I want to take you on a journey today into the near future. And unlike my friend Barry Allen, I can't run so fast that I travel through time, so I have to cheat a little bit. And how we cheat is this. I watch what Google's doing. I watch what they have done in the recent past. And I think sometimes as SEOs and as marketers, we see what they do and all we do is react. You know, we look at our rankings and we go, what do I do now? And what did they do? And what did they do to me? And why did it go up? And why did it go down? And we don't see the story behind what they're doing. And so today what I'd like to do is take a few themes, show you what's happened in the last few months, in the last year, and try to show you the philosophy behind that and where it's going to take us in the next couple of years, and hopefully a little bit about what we can do about that. I have been accused of scaring people in some of my talks, and I'm going to try and make it a little actionable, but it might be a little scary too. So a little nostalgia, first of all. This is the good old days. Remember 10 blue links? It was all organic. You have to have some pretty weird, boring queries, like boring SEO blog ideas today to see 10 blue links. Even a search for 10 blue links brings up paid results. I don't know, I guess this is a chain link fence. I don't know why you would have this. I want you to note here that Google is selling links on this page. So you want to point that out to them? Come on, Google, what are you doing? But today, too often, what we're more likely to see is something like this. Obviously a very competitive commercial query for wedding rings. We've got ads on the top, we've got ads on the side, we've got a huge paid shopping block, we have an answer box, what Google calls a featured snippet, the new answer box, and there in the bottom left is almost one entire organic result. And this is a high-res screen, I'm not cheating on these. And you see that more about wedding rings? Well, if you were to click on that, then we have no organic at all on this page. And yes, I'm cherry picking a little bit. I'm going to show you, the worst just for fun. But you may be thinking this is the exception, and I want to show you that it's not. So I want to take you through some data really quickly. This is data from about 2 weeks ago, the very end of June. This is from the MozCast 10K, so this is 10,000 keywords, pretty fairly distributed across competition and volume. They're fairly commercial. So if we look at just SERPs with verticals, news results, image, in-depth, almost half of the 10,000 SERPs in our set have some kind of vertical. We add in the knowledge graph, knowledge panels on the right, knowledge cards at the top, featured snippets, the new ones. We're up to 64%. Almost 2/3 of the SERPs in our set have either verticals, knowledge graph, or both. We add in what I call enhancements. This is video thumbnails, the mega videos, the big ones at the top, review stars, site links, which can really dominate the #1 position. We're up to 4 out of 5. 80% have one or more of these features. We add in local traditional packs, 1 boxes, snack packs, 82%. I don't want you to think that that means local is only 2%. This is additive. Local in our set is about 15%. But what it's showing you is that many of these SERPs have more than one element. And if we add in paid, AdWords, and shopping, we're up to 97%. So 97 out of 100 of the SERPs in our data set do not have 10 blue links. Only 3% do. So this is not the exception. This is our new reality. All right, so let's talk about what's been happening. And I apologize, I'm going to talk really fast today. I've been 5 minutes over every practice run, and it's been fast even when I started. So a lot's happened in Knowledge Graph in the past year. And I want to take you through, you may know how this works, but I want to give you a little taste of what we've had so far. So you're used to the answer box at the top, what they call the knowledge card, and we get a question like, how tall is a Space Needle? And it comes back 605 feet. And you see that panel on the right, and I think sometimes we look at that knowledge panel and we just think of it as a chunk of text. And of course it's not. This is highly structured data that Google understands, that they understand semantically. And so if you look down there, you see, okay, height, 605 feet. That comes from the structured data. So we can put that to the test. You see right above that, floor 6. All right, how many stories is a Space Needle? I didn't even use the word floors. We get 6. You see the architects there? Let's try again. Space Needle Architects, yeah, there they are. They're in a carousel, a little different format. And you can use this to keep generating answers out of this structured knowledge graph. And you might think this can go on forever. But we've hit kind of an impasse. This is Yahoo circa 2001. And if you remember Yahoo at the time, it had a search box, but Yahoo was not a search engine. It was a directory. And it was a human-edited directory. And what we learned in the early days of search was that this doesn't scale. Even then, it didn't scale, and now the pace of content creation has exploded. And every experiment with it after that, services like KGB, sites like Mahalo, unless you're in a niche, that hasn't worked. And so the irony is that Google came along and said, we have to fully automate this. This cannot be human-edited. And they built a search engine that was fully automated. But they've come full circle. And they're trying to build the knowledge graph off of human-curated data, and it's not working. So what do they have to do? They have to dip into our data. They have to dip into the index and create knowledge, and that's what's happening. So this is the new answer box. Google calls this a featured snippet. I'm trying to use their language. So you get a question, what color is the Space Needle? It's not in the knowledge graph. And so Google goes out and look. And they come back with a block of text. And it's pretty good. With paint colors like orbital olive for the body, astronaut white for the legs, re-entry red for the saucer. OK. And then you get a little bit at the end that doesn't quite make sense. It was completed in 1962. All right, why is that in there? And then we see the attribution. This came from a page on Wikipedia. And yes, it's scraped directly from the middle of that page. And so Google is trying to build the knowledge graph on the index they already have. They have to. They can't scale it manually. They have to use the massive data they have. They have to use automation. You can tell it's automation because some of these answers are a little weird. You might have seen this recently. This is stop hiccups. So drink water, plugged ears. That's grammatically a little strange, but OK. Pull your tongue out. Yes, this may be rude. Well, if I want to pull my tongue out, I'm not worried about rudeness. Have an orgasm. I guess that's generally good advice. I'm not going to get into your personal lives, and I'm going to just walk right past number 4. And I hope you've solved the problem by 3. Let's put it that way. And so you can tell that this is algorithmic. And it's easy to make fun, but this is an incredibly difficult problem. And Google is trying to solve it with the algorithm. They're trying to solve this with deep learning. And this is incredibly disruptive. And we're going to see big changes coming. The other difficulty they're trying to face is, what is a question in the first place? Stop hiccups isn't really a question in the traditional sense, but they know what you're trying to do. So sometimes you get questions that don't make sense, like what car does Jesus drive? Yeah. There you go. I have a Honda, so hey, cool. Bonus points, I hope. And this comes actually from a site with a what would Jesus drive page, which is the WWJD, and it's pretty funny actually. But so this is their difficulty. They're trying to tell what's a question and how do we answer it, but they are trying to do this with machines. And they are going to only increase the pace of this. So we can make fun, but I think we shouldn't lose sight that they really are going to keep moving. We're seeing some new entities. This is kind of a dual answer box. So the top is actually probably coming from the knowledge graph, and the bottom is coming from a site. So they are going to use this new knowledge system. I don't want to use knowledge vault because that's kind of taken on a different meaning. And they're going to build the knowledge graph, and then they're going to start to put these things together. We've also seen this coming in testing, this people also ask box. Each of these is an answer. And so you can expand those, and Google's trying to build questions. So if you type in VPN, they don't know what you want. Do you want to know what it is? Do you want to set one up? And so they're trying to generate the kind of information you might be interested in. All right, so why are they doing this? This is a weird thing. When they provide this concise answer, they're disrupting the SERP, and that's not only revolutionary for us, but it changes their model. It changes their business model. It disrupts their advertising. So why would they do it? Well, mobile is one answer. A small screen, you need a concise information. You need something that fits. But there's another reason they have to do this, and hopefully this works.
OK, Google.
It's me talking to my phone.
What is the cloud?
According to Gizmodo, cloud is a buzzword that vaguely suggests the promise and convenience of being able to access files from anywhere. But the reality is that the cloud is hardly floating like mist above our heads. It's a physical infrastructure. It's many computers housed in massive warehouses all over the world.
A little wordy, I apologize, but that's voice search on Android. Voice search is dependent on concise answers. You can't have a SERP. And as we get into, as I'll show you later, voice appliances and voice in our car and voice on our wearables where screen space is limited, this is why they need this. And this is challenging for them. It's challenging for us, but they don't know how they're going to monetize this. They don't know where it's going, but they know they have to have it. And it's not just basic answers. We see it in pretty complex stuff. This is what they call live results, but they're taking a fairly large amount of information and putting it into one little box. And luckily, I could show you that they lost because we won. Go Hawks. Some of you don't know I'm from Chicago, even though I work here at Moz. And again, this is well suited not just for mobile, but also for voice.
Blackhawks score.
The Blackhawks lost to the Lightning 4-3. They are playing the Lightning today at 7 p.m.
As a casual sports fan, that's all I needed to know. So this is incredibly disruptive. They're trying to figure out where they're headed with mobile and with voice, and we're only going to see more of it. So let's get tactical. There is something you can do. If this is built on my data, can I take advantage of that? So last year I noticed that for how much does Google make, my post, how much does Google make, came up in the answer, came up in the enhanced snippet. And it wasn't a very good answer. It started a little weird. This post has nothing to do with SEO. Okay, thanks. But every once in a while, blah, 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 they made this in 2010. Well, this was 2014. And even though this was my post, that was a pretty lousy answer to the question. And I thought, well, maybe we could change that. And so I rewrote the top of the post, and I tried to make it user-friendly. Since this post was written, Google's revenues have roughly doubled. Here's what they are in 2013. Here's where they're headed. Because people landing on this, it was a weird post. People landing on this post might just want to know that. Let's make it friendly. Let's see what happens. And it did change. It took 6 months. I talked to Google. They said that shouldn't have happened, but it won't. I don't know why. But it did. So if it's coming from us, maybe we have some control over it. This is a very Moz-relevant question. What is page authority? And we thought, well, maybe we should be in that box. And interestingly, the number 2 result was getting in that box. So don't tweet this, but this is one of the rare things I ever got confirmed by Google. I talked to Gary, and I said, over drinks, when we'd had a few, I think this is how it works. Will you tell me? And he said, yes. So this is how it works for now. How it works is, first of all, Google has to think this is a question. Okay? They do their processing. We have the Hummingbird core architecture now. We can do that kind of thing. They think it's a question. They run the core algo. They decide who's going to land on page 1. But from page 1, once you've cleared the page 1 hurdle, they look at those results and try to find the one that best matches the question. And that's really more of a text semantic kind of process. So once you've cleared the page 1 hurdle, you're eligible to be in that box. You don't have to be number 1. So we said, well, we are number 1. We should be able to get in there. And could we steal that box? Steal is a, could we occupy it for the users? I don't want to say steal. Can we improve the experience? And so we rewrote it. We said our title, it's not a question. We're not using what is. We were kind of wordy in the intro. And yeah, 6 weeks later, we were able to take that. Now we lost it again, so I'm sorry, but it's a little tricky. But the interesting thing about this to me is, first of all, realize that you're twice on the page. So you can be scared of this and say, oh no, Google's taking over. But you just double dipped. You're number 1 and number 0 now. But the other thing I want you to think about and why I want you to try this is, let's say you're number 5 in a competitive query and you're trying to get to number 1. That's incredibly difficult. That takes a lot of money and a lot of links, a lot of authority. You might be able to jump past number 1 to number 0 with this just by matching the question better. So it may actually be easier to get from number 5 to number 0 than it is to get from number 5 to number 1. So try it out. Be a better match. Be a better answer to the question. It's good for users. This isn't spamming. This is our metric. We should be able to answer this question. Now, how much does Google make? That was a better answer. So you're improving the search experience, and you're making more money. We don't get that very often. This is what I want you to do tactically, and this is going to be hard to hear. I tend to be a late adopter, and I'm changing my tune a bit because things are moving faster. And so I want you to think about an example, which is authorship. Last year, authorship went away. And a lot of us said, haha, I told you so. I'm glad I didn't do that. But authorship was around for 2 to 3, Cyrus is the author, 2 to 3 years. And Cyrus actually did some great stuff showing you could really boost click-through, testing images and things like that. And so if you were one of those people that said, haha, I'm glad I didn't waste my time on that, think about this. For 2 to 3 years, people were getting double digits increases in CTR. They were making hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars for those 2 to 3 years, and they cashed it in. And that money was in the bank. And when authorship went away, sure, that kind of sucked for them. But if you said, haha, who was the chump? The person who waited and then laughed, or the person who cashed it in for 2 years? So I want you to try these things. I want you to experiment. Look at emojis recently. I was in Australia, and we can make fun of them. Oh, emojis and titles is idiotic. I talked to a friend, big enterprise search person in Australia, that said, hey, I've been experimenting with this for a month. I'm getting 16% CTR increases on a huge site. He made thousands of dollars for 2 months. And it's in the bank. So who's the chump? Try it out. It's going to take some investment. And some of these things, authorship was easy. Take advantage of it while it's there. All right, now on to the scarier stuff. It's only going to get scarier and scarier. Google is no longer a content curator. They are a content creator. And we have to be aware of this as content marketers. So let's start where we were with the knowledge graph. Sometimes knowledge entities, knowledge cards like this, are so definitive that they essentially destroy the SERP. When is National Taco Day? That's a thing. There's still plenty of time to buy me a present. And there's the answer. I trust Google. I trust them as much as any site below it, so I'm done. They've essentially disrupted this entire SERP with definitive content. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't autoplay it. Thought I'll be nice. This is the new mega video format. This is content. This isn't just a link to a video. This is their content. It's got knowledge panel information. It dominates the SERP. They are taking over with their own content. Lyrics popped up earlier this year. Again, this is content. They are becoming content creators, and they're dominating the top of these SERPs. Data partnerships like the knowledge cards we saw, this is rich stuff. This isn't just a score. They've got logos, and they've got information about the schedule. You can pull down the whole thing. They've got video. They're building tools. This is appearing on queries like mortgage calculator, interest rate calculator. This is competitive stuff. And they're building content for a better experience, and they're disrupting your content. This is kind of cool, and I want to explain to you why. If you go on desktop and you do a search for best movies of 1985, you get that black carousel. It's kind of a weird experience on desktop. But if you go to an Android phone, you get this experience, which is a lot cooler if it's on the page. But you notice those colored boxes under the movie posters? They're algorithmically choosing that color based on the poster. They are designing content with the algorithm. So machines are building content for them. Machines are designing content. They are not just displaying results. They are going to make these results richer and more interesting, more disruptive, and less organic in the sense we've come to see it. You may have seen this earlier this year. This is the medical knowledge panels. These are fully custom. This did not come from the knowledge graph. They worked with the medical community. They created this data. They curated it. All these images, custom. This is Google as content creator. They stepped in. They said, we need better content here. They did it once. They will do it again. Incredibly disruptive. We see testing in the auto insurance space. We've seen it. It's been in the UK for a while. It's going to come to the US. They will move into more and more verticals. Don't tweet this yet. I want you to understand that this screen is fake. So don't panic. But where could they go? I want to show you how easy it would be if you're in real estate. This looks like a local snack pack. This looks like a new local result. What if Google bought the MLS data? They have the money. It would be easy. What if they got tired of everybody posting the same shit over and over on every real estate site in the world? Terrible duplicate content. You know it's true even if you're in the industry. And they just stepped in. They said, let's put that in a local search result. And let's filter by bedrooms and bathrooms and price. They could do it tomorrow if they wanted to. So be aware. Google will create more content. They will step into more spaces. So what do we do? Yeah, it's a hard question, but I want to try and give you at least some strategic advice. First of all, build deep. Don't be an easy answer. If you run a site that says things like, when is Mother's Day, and gives the date, okay, that's useful. But Google can wipe you off the map. They've replaced that with answers. Your business model is gone. So this is one of my babies, the algo change history. This is long content. It's deep content. We change it all the time. We update it. It's hard to replace this with a little box. And because it's about the Google algo, they don't ever want to show that in a little box. So it's about the safest content I could have ever built. Add real value. My wife is works for one of the big 3 credit firms. I won't say which one. And so it's funny, Credit Karma is one of their competitors, and we often use it and talk about how great it is and how scary that is for them. Because if you're in a business where your business is credit scores, what if Google decided to just put that credit score in a box? And they might. So what Credit Karma does that's cool is they actually show you what that score is based on and how to improve it. And it's actionable stuff. It's not vague, weird advice. We've actually increased our credit score 30 points by using this advice. And so they're adding real value. They're adding insight. They can't put that insight in a box and easily replace you. And step it up. This is a site called Eurosport. This is from the Women's World Cup. This is kind of cool. There's a timeline on the top, horizontally. You click on it, and it pops to the event in the vertical timeline. And you can see highlights, or you can see the whole thing, and you can see tweets, and you can see video snippets. And if you're not a casual sports fan and you're really into it, this is the kind of thing you want to see. So if you're in that business and all you want to see is the score, you've already been replaced. So you're going to have to step it up. All right, real quick, we're going to talk about mobile because we've all been worried about it. And Mobilegeddon, the mobile-friendly update, for anyone from Google listening, they don't like Mobilegeddon. And to be fair, how much of a geddon was it? Well, not much. Don't worry about the students. This is data from MozCast Mobile. About a month before launch, we rolled out a separate mobile version to see how SERP flux was going, how much were rankings changing from day to day. An average day on MozCast is tuned to about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And so they told us that Mobilegeddon rolled out April 21st and was going to take a couple weeks. We saw a bump on April 22nd, and a bump relative to desktop, but it wasn't a big bump. And so it was easy to kind of go, all right, well, what was that all about? I'll tell you a couple things. First of all, Google did get what they wanted. This is 2 months of data. There's a little separation at the beginning and the end. If you look at the number of SERPs in our mobile data set that had the mobile-friendly tag, the number of URLs, sorry. In early April, it was about 2/3. It was about 66%, which is surprisingly large. We saw a bump on April 22nd, but unlike the SERP flux, this number continued to increase. And now we're closer to 80%. We're about 78. So about 4 in 5 of the SERPs we see in mobile have the mobile-friendly tag. And this is what Google wanted. And I think it's easy to look at this and say it was just FUD. You know, this was just them crying wolf to get us to change. And yes, it was. Make no mistake, they got us to change because that's cheaper and easier and less risky than updating the algorithm. There's incredible collateral damage from an update like this. So they got us to change. But because they got us to change, don't make the mistake of thinking that they're not serious about mobile. And I want to tell you why quickly. This is data from Mary Meeker's annual report. Mobile eclipsed half of usage early this year. Google has said the same thing. Mobile has eclipsed half of searches in the US and a few other countries. Now, it's interesting, and Rand pointed this out. If you see desktop and laptop, it hasn't really gone down that much. There was a little dip. But if you're looking at that number and you're saying, my desktop traffic hasn't gone down, I don't need to worry about this, you're not realizing that you're missing half of your opportunity. And so I think you have to be careful. This is a study, the Multi-Device World Study from 2012 by Google. In 2012, they determined that 65% of searches started on smartphone, even commercial. Now what's interesting is that they found out that it's part of a journey. So sometimes I think we talk like there's smartphone and there's tablet and there's desktop and those are all different things. No, we watch something on TV, we see something happen, we look at our phones, we put it in our pocket, and later we go follow up on our computers and our panels, and we go back and forth, and this is only going to increase, and this was 3 years ago. So mobile is serious, Google knows it's serious, and Google is scared, believe me. They saw CTRs drop precipitously on mobile, they were worried about their $60 billion in advertising, and they changed their tune, and they did this. Last year, there was a pretty big redesign, and John Wiley, one of the lead designers at Google, said, towards the end of last year, we launched some pretty big design improvements for search on mobile and tablet, mobile first. The bolding is mine, the underline, the exclamation point, and the smiley are all John's. Mobile first is serious. Google felt that they were in danger, and they changed to a mobile first design strategy. If you don't believe me, let's look at a few. Christopher Lee, a little shout out, passed away earlier this year. If you don't know it, besides being awesome, he sang metal songs and had a couple of metal albums. And so this is a carousel of his songs. And on the desktop, it's a little weird. You know, it scrolls horizontally. It kind of doesn't fit. It disrupts the SERP. Well, here's what it looks like on Android. It's single panel. It's nice. It looks good. You scroll with a finger swipe. It makes sense. This was designed for mobile, rolled out to desktop. The new local snack pack, it's kind of strange. It floats in space. This is the snack pack on mobile. It fits the screen. It's got a map. It's easy to filter. If you scroll horizontally through options, you can actually have a complete local experience without ever seeing the organic SERPs below it. This was built for mobile and adapted to desktop. Remember this? We just saw this one. Built for mobile, adapted to desktop. We're going to see this more and more. So don't look at Mobilegeddon and say, this was just a fluke, this was Google playing around with this. Google takes mobile incredibly seriously, and that will continue. And there will be a real Mobilegeddon, whether it's all at once or gradual. I think it will be gradual. So what do? Well, Cindy's up after me, and she's going to say a lot of smart things about mobile, and so I'm not going to say anything more because I might sound dumb in retrospect. But do this, run your numbers. First of all, there are two goals. One is, are you creating a good mobile experience for your users, and do your users need that? That depends on you. That depends on your niche. That depends on your users and how savvy they are. The other is, how do we get that mobile-friendly tag and convince Google that we're mobile-friendly? Those goals right now are not quite the same. And so what I want you to do is do the math. Figure out what it would cost you to get there and what you would gain from it, and be serious about it, and don't keep putting it off. So just take it seriously, run the numbers, decide where you need to be. All right, it only gets worse. We're going to get into paid. These are what I call the ad hybrids. The snack pack launched, and something came with it and rolled out to organic, which was paid hotel bookings. So if you do a search like Grand Hyatt Seattle, you can book a room right in the knowledge panel. And this is a little scary because Google has trained us to look at that thing to the right and think of it as trusted knowledge. Think of it as unbiased information. And so what we're starting to see is paid information popping up in there. And incredibly disruptive. I mean, if you're looking to book a room, this is useful. We've got a bunch of these have rolled out. This is paid product. It looks like a knowledge panel, very competitive search for iPhone 6. You see some specs, but the entire top is places to buy, and that's all sponsored. This is an ad. Movies, another Christopher Lee shout out. You can watch it right now on Google Play. This is an ad in a knowledge panel. Music, another ad. Books just rolled out this month, we think. We're not sure. Video games also rolled out. We're going to see more. If they're on Google Play, it's an ad. This is a tricky one. You remember those lyrics? If you go to the bottom, full lyrics on Google Play, guess what? You can buy the song there. This is an ad. Why did Google move into the lyric space? Because Google owns Google Play and they can sell music. This is an ad. Google is a commercial ecosystem. They are more than search. Yes, they make most of their money on advertising, and that is their strength and their danger. But they have Google Play now. They have this app ecosystem. Rand showed you the app pack. This is a competitive search. This is job search. This isn't Transformers video games or, girls math games or the things you think of as app-related. This is competitive. Not only that, but these app packs, they can go up to 6 results, and unlike a vertical, you might not know, but news, in-depth, and images take away 1 organic spot. No matter how many there are, they take away 1 spot. App packs, every single app on Android takes away a spot. So if you have 6 apps, you lose 6 organic spots on page 1. That's massively disruptive, and all of this is part of Google's paid ecosystem. If you want to know what's coming, look to mobile. This is car dealerships nearby. This is available on mobile. It comes and goes. They're testing. It will come to desktop, I'm pretty sure. The interesting thing to me about this is the intersection of knowledge graph, paid results, and local. And it's incredibly powerful. If you're looking to buy, if you're looking for a local dealership, this is incredibly powerful, and it's useful, and it will change the game if you're in that industry. All right, this is fake, again, so don't screenshot it like it's a real screen. So I wanted to think ahead a little bit and think, well, what if we did a search for Jurassic World and we showed no organic results? What might that look like? And so we have Showtimes, which you'll see now. If you don't realize it, Showtimes is paid content. It's Fandango right now, I think. This is commercial content. And then over on the right, let's say we had that knowledge panel, but Google said, hey, if you're interested in this, maybe you'd like to watch the original Jurassic Park, because that's already out. So let's put some paid content in there. And if you're interested in Jurassic World, maybe you'd like to buy some cool shit, like Lego Raptors, which I do. That sounds awesome. And what's interesting to me about this concept is that, first of all, even though this is fake, every single one of these pieces exists today. All Google would have to do is mix and match them, and I apologize if they do this a month from now, because this would not be that hard. But the other thing interesting to me about this, first of all, it has no AdWords ads at all, and yet it's entirely paid. But it's also a good user experience. Arguably, this is a good experience. And this is the problem. As SEOs, sometimes we play this game, we say this thing, which is basically, well, if Google's just going to turn everything into ads. You know, if you don't think so, you're stupid. Well, that's a little naive, because yes, Google is an advertising company, but Google needs organic. They need to bring us back. You know, they could just replace everything with AdWords ads today, and they'd make a lot more money for a week or a month, and then we'd never come back. Google needs the experience. But this, arguably, is an entirely paid SERP that is also an experience that might bring us back, and that's what we're going to see. This is just a little thing for fun. Google, a while back, they moved from the block, the colored block with the background, where all the ads were together, to individually labeled ads. Now that they've done that, I think ads are going to break out. I think in the next 2 years, we're going to see ads start to move in between organic and become a little more seamless. I don't know when, but I think it'll happen. So what do? I know we don't like to think about this as SEOs, but I want you to think about it. If you were in a very competitive niche, this is wedding dress, one organic, images, shopping, paid, local. If you're fighting against David's Bridal for that one organic, you're probably going to lose unless you're a really big player, and it's going to cost you a lot. So I don't want you to ignore all the things around it. I want you to be aware of your paid ecosystem, because it's going to get richer, it's going to get more competitive. I believe in organic, I believe in it as a long-term investment, but I don't think you can afford to ignore these things, so don't hide your head. Know what's out there. All right. Can we make it through all of this? I'll have 3 more scary slides, and I'll try and say some nice things. And I admit, you know, I had a really ambitious title, SEO in 2020, because it sounded nice. And truthfully, this is more like SEO in 2016 to 2017. This is coming sooner than we think. One thing I believed for a long time is that we would see the SERP begin to disappear. And if you don't think that, look at what we already have. This isn't mobile, this is Google Maps for desktop. Because this is what we want. We don't want a listing of places. You see the thing on the left? That's actually where the snack pack essentially came from. We want a map. We have to think of it in terms of location. This is going to become more and more common. The SERP is already becoming a more dynamic thing. We talked about voice, and I think it's easy to take voice for granted, because today we see voice as something we do with our phone when we can't drive our car, we don't want to get arrested. You know, voice is hands-free, don't let the cops see me out on Facebook. Because we still have that screen, and so we don't take voice seriously. Well, this is the Amazon Echo. I bought one earlier, about a month ago. And it's easy to see it as a toy, and yes, it's still improving, but it's not. This is a voice appliance, and when you start to use it, you start to understand how powerful voice can be. And I have 2 kids, and they understand it already, that if I'm in the room and I need to set a timer, or I need to convert some measurements, or I need to know the weather, it's right there, and I just talk to it. Also, I don't know if people have one. It has this like Cylon light that follows you. I didn't know about that, and it was really creepy the first time, because the microphone sees you, and you're like, you say Alexa is the activation word. You're like, Alexa, and it's like, okay, I'm sorry. So here's a query on Alexa.
Will it rain tomorrow?
It might rain in Hinsdale tomorrow. There's a 40% chance.
This isn't what's the weather going to be. I can ask, will it rain tonight? You know, this is powerful stuff, and this is where we're headed. And this is a challenge for everyone, because the SERP's gone, and Google's worried too. How do they monetize this? We don't know. This is coming, you need to be aware. You've seen Google now. This is predictive search. This is search without keywords. Google is trying to say, I know you're a Cubs fan, I know where you are, I know what stocks you're tracking, I know you seem to be driving to work, and maybe there's a lot of traffic. They're trying to tell us what we want to know before we type. What does that mean for keyword research? Be aware, these things are changing. But 2 messages I want you to take away. First of all, today, if you have traffic from Google, and we all do, you have to rank to get there. It has to come from a link on the screen. So this is still our reality today. We need to be aware, but we also need to keep playing this game. So the algo change history, this is a document people keep coming back to. They bookmark, they social, and yet 75% of our traffic still comes from search and comes from ranking #1 for competitive terms. So we still live in this reality. You know, I think we have to have a dual mentality. We have to have this awareness. We have to know what's coming. But today, this is still our reality, and this still matters. And I think you also just have to look wider. This is a fairly, it doesn't seem that competitive. It's a SERP for stencils. And if you think purely in terms of organic, and purely in terms of your ranking, and purely in terms of where you are, it's going to look like there's only 2 opportunities on this page. And as much as I believe in SEO, I want you to realize that in some ways there are 22 opportunities on this page. And if you're missing them, you're missing 90% of the potential opportunity. Are they all the same? Are they all relevant to you? Or are they all the same ROI? No, they're not. But don't hide your head in the sand. Be aware of this. And finally, I want to say this. I want you to think short-term tactically and long-term strategically. And I want to explain why with this example. And I needed a couple slides to justify wearing a superhero t-shirt. So, I know I can probably get away with it, but I have to have a little justification. If you haven't seen it, this is Marvel Studios' Phase 3 plan. Earlier this year, they announced every one of their movies until 2019 with titles and dates. Can you imagine 5 years ago any movie or studio doing this? What are they doing? It's incredibly risky. They're telling us what products are going to launch 4 years from now. What is their tactical SEO plan for 2019? They don't know. They don't fucking care what their tactical SEO is going to look like in 2019. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 2019. But you know what? They've told us today they're building a product. They are building links. They are building social. They are building mentions. They are getting articles 4 years in advance of the product even existing. This is how I want you to think. Today, we have to be tactical. And I know people always say it, and it's tough because I do a lot of, obviously data science. And people go, oh, we need it actionable, we need it tactical. Today, we have to be tactical. But if you don't have this product plan, if you don't have something worth marketing later, you will fail. This is a company that's saying, we will release this product in 4 years, and we're already building links to them, and we're already building mentions to them. And when their SEO kicks in mid-2018, they'll already be winning. Can you say that? That's what I want you to work towards. And it's difficult, no doubt. All right, please don't tweet this yet, because we don't know if it's going to break. But we're doing a little test. We're going to launch a little tool today. It's at mozcast.com/keyop, K-E-Y-O-P-P. And it's based on what we're talking about, something we're working on for future metrics. And essentially what we're building is a keyword opportunity score. So it's based on the idea that 10 blue links is 100% opportunity in the way we're used to thinking of it organically. And as we get these things like knowledge panels and ads and shopping and verticals, each of these things subtracts away from that. And so along with some of our other metrics like keyword difficulty, we want to see what's left for organic. So here's a sample. This is Starbucks. And you may say, wow, holy shit, 5%? Why? Well, OK, we have 6 site links. And that means that basically organic positions 2, 3, and 4 are all gone. Organic position #1 is Starbucks.com, and unless you are Starbucks.com, you're not going to rank #1 for Starbucks. So 1 through 4 and the entire top of the CTR curve are gone. The next one after that is news, and there's an in-depth, and there's an ad, and there's a knowledge panel. And if you look at it from a click-through rate perspective, all you're left with is the bottom 4, essentially organic, and that's not much. So why are you going after this SERP? Unless you're Starbucks, this makes no sense. And so we would love you to play around with this. Just tell us what you think. This is super, super beta. I don't know if that's a thing. Beta, 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 whatever you call it. But yeah, let us know what you think. If it says, sorry, try again later, that means just like try again in 5 minutes, not an hour. So please let us know what you think. And that's it.
I'm sorry, where can people find that tool? Where is it?
So it's at mozcast.com/keyopp, K-E-Y-O-P-P. We're just not sure how much load it can handle, so don't put it out there quite yet.
No, I should know this. I'm sorry I don't read my emails. We have the keyword difficulty tool at Moz.
Yes.
Is there any chance of like incorporating this someday?
Well, so the idea is to see how useful this is, and potentially we're working on some new metrics, and I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about, can we talk about ME? And yes, we're working on Moz Explorer and some new tools, so this is hopefully going to be part of that whole package and some new ways to look at our keywords. But for now, this is just a test. It will move into product at some point, hopefully.
Okay, I want to read a question from Ryan Ricketts. Good question. If I change our page to get a featured snippet, won't users just digest the answer and not click through to our site? It's a big question a lot of people have.
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a hard question. The folks from Stone Temple who are here, Mark and Eric, obviously big names in SEO, have done some studies, and we've seen some data. It looks like the answer is no. That unless that answer is really, really definitive, and it ends the question, essentially, people will click on that link. We're actually seeing some click-through boosts. And again, keep in mind that you've also still got that organic result. So you've got 2 positions, whether people only have 1. So it's not as scary as it looks. For now, we are getting decent click-through boosts. The other thing is, if you're looking at something like your competitor in that spot, you know, the game's already in play. So would you rather you be in the box or they be in the box?
Yeah, and we can verify that on Moz for some of our snippets that have
We've seen
shown.
it for a couple, yeah.
Yeah, and no traffic change really at all.
Yeah.
So, Matt Brown yesterday talked about how Google is acting as its own filter for too much content. Panda, Penguin, there's too much content, they're filtering it themselves. You showed some examples where they're further filtering it with the answer boxes. Are we in danger of Google going away as stop being a search engine? Or being an answer, just an
I
answer
don't think,
engine?
you know, not everything can be answered. Let's put it that way. You know, I think they have to adapt to these new modalities. They have to adapt to things like voice and mobile. And I think it's tough for them because if they give you the answer and you leave, you're not buying anything. And so they're kind of struggling with that too. So no, I don't think so. There are going to be search results. It's actually interesting, even on Echo, if I do a search, if it can't answer it, I have an Echo app on my phone. It sends me the Bing URL on my phone. So I can go back later and look up the URL. We're going to see more of that cross-modality kind of search. You know, I think we're going to see a world where we can swipe the phone screen to the TV. You know, that's not that far off, and move our search experience around. So there will be bigger screens. There will be more results. So if it's the kind of query where people naturally need to dig in, there's always going to be results. You know, we're always going to have to filter information somehow, and not everything has an answer. So I think it really depends. I think the hard thing is it's really hard to stand up here and give you one-size-fits-all advice for the next couple of years because it's so query dependent. It's so niche dependent. You know.
So a lot of us in this room, agencies, we have clients, we report rankings. So this is a really good question from Paul Sherland. Given Google personalization, how repeatable are any measurements of search rank with Google in 2020?
Yeah, it's tough. The short answer is we don't know. And obviously, we build rank tracking software, and we're very aware of this. For now, we don't usually see personalization have a profound impact. But again, it's like answers. Not everything can be personalized, but we're going to see more and more of that. We're going to see Google Now pop up more. They just launched, what do they call that? They basically rolled out the Google Now ecosystem to apps. So they want to see that be in more things. I mean, you can only do so much with predictive search, but yeah, it's going to matter. It's going to matter more, and it's going to be a challenge for all of us. How do we track that? How do we know what people are seeing? Google's going to have some of that data, and we're going to have to find some of that data. So yeah, it's a challenge. I have no easy answer.
I don't want you to predict too much in the future, but do you ever see regulation coming to Google?
I mean, I agree with what was said. They're one of the biggest lobbyists in the US right now. We know they're a near monopoly, but they will work hard to to say they are. I don't know. You know, it's tough because I give Google crap, but you know, I use a lot of Google stuff, and it's generally a good experience. I think, truthfully, I think something disruptive will come along before regulators shut down Google. One thing you have to realize about Google, and I think about this a lot, we think of them as kind of this unstoppable giant. They're barely a 15-year-old company, and they are entirely dependent on advertising revenue. So if our advertising behavior changes, Google's world could change overnight, and so I don't think they're going to be what they are forever, but I don't think it's going to be the SEC who changes that, truthfully.
It's all about disruption.
Yeah, it's going to be who comes along next.
All right. Got a lot of questions. I think a lot of people are going to corner you at lunch today. So, Dr. P, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks.